Hey, everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode number 518, being recorded October 17th, 2018. I'm Alan Malventano.
I'm Jeremy Hallstrom, dude.
I'm Ken Addison.
And there's
Jim.
we got a Jim over there trying to make up
people
for,
over there.
There's an Alex, and there's a Stormtrooper trying to... Is he doing like... Is he in the back of a Jeep right now? Is he doing the
Sure.
Team America signal that you're supposed to come and pick him up?
Fortnite dance? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not a youth.
He's really bad at doing the YMCA.
He's just,
Really bad.
Yeah, the record started skipping at one of the letters, and he's been that way all night.
When I did go to get dinner tonight, I went to Pyology, one of those fast pizza places, and I was waiting for my pizza to come out of the oven, the brick oven, and it's like this little 3-year-old in line flossing to whatever music was playing in the restaurant.
Oh.
The dance from Fortnite.
Flossing?
Yeah.
What?
You have a child. You should know this by now.
No, I do not let him. I'm a good parent. Well,
he doesn't let his child floss.
I'm an adequate parent, but I do have a limit on Fortnite.
You don't let your kid floss?
I'm
I'm playing on the entendre.
I don't know. I have.
I don't know.
I don't know.
There's no right answer, Jim. No answer is safe.
I'm a good parent. I'm in full denial.
Well, of course.
Okay. Anyway, welcome to the podcast, folks. Let's just rip through the intro thingies here. PCPer.com/subscribe. Did we have a mailing list thing go out?
Nope.
No? Oh, well. If you
Shame, Ken.
If you go there and you subscribe and you give us your name and your email address, you might get an email before we start streaming.
Yeah, I need to make a recurring calendar
like a recurring
event for
reminder thingy.
Yeah.
It's on the calendar.
Not on mine.
Well, It needs to notify him also. And we also send that out when we have folks in studio and recording other things on streaming, not just the Wednesday night thing. Patreon.com/PCPer is where you can help us keep the lights on. One of our goals is a thing I'll be doing tomorrow, which is recording the PC Per mailbag. If you're listening to this live, I suppose. I don't know. When do you post this thing?
Friday morning.
Friday morning?
Mm-hmm. You recorded on Thursday, so Friday morning.
No. This thing.
Oh.
This thing
Thursday morning.
Thursday morning. Okay. So if you're listening to this early or if you're listening to it live, you can reply to my tweet where I was asking for mailbag questions because I'm the one doing the mailbag tomorrow. So storage related, preferably. But if not, maybe I'll throw it in for funsies.
Oh boy.
I had a few oddball questions coming already. Might field them, just to make things interesting.
And you make everything interesting.
I try. Listen, I used to teach nuclear electronics troubleshooting. You have to try to keep things interesting because my class was like 3 months of nothing but that. 8 hours a day.
Sounds like my hell.
I had to keep it interesting just to keep myself interested. Yeah. Anyway, what do we got next? Hey, mailbag. Josh did a mailbag last week. I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch it. Is that the one you were talking about where it was comic relief stuff was in there?
Yeah, I put a few zingers.
You did the funny things? I only caught the zingers as you were doing your editing, but I need to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, we missed a few weeks. I apologize. I got pneumonia and then am not robust enough to recover quickly. So we were almost a month, I think we missed getting it up, but back on track.
Couldn't get it up for a month.
Well, sounds like a personal problem.
There's no Josh here to turn purple. What are we going to do? Josh is covering an event in case we haven't said what was going on. He flew out from his already remote location to yet another remote location. And I think he was being chased around by one of those robotic dogs.
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah. That dog that creeps people out and opens doors and everything. It was like 10
dances to Bruno Mars.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying.
It was like 10 feet from Josh's face.
That dog can moonwalk.
I know. Maybe it and Josh got in like a moonwalk, like dance off or something.
Maybe.
I'd pay good money to see that, actually. Anyway,
Let Josh know.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe the dog also wants some,
But isn't this robot learning from its environment, like constantly receiving? Do we want to?
And
expose
Josh
it
is
to
in the
Josh?
environment.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, if we let it hang out with Josh, then it won't take over society.
That's true.
It's true.
It'll pick up all of Josh's bad habits.
But-
But get really into bourbon and scotch.
It'll be busy like playing racing games.
Yeah.
Like I want to see that
Racing
dog
games.
like with a racing wheel and like hitting
I
the
don't
pedals.
see any way it's going to end positively for society.
Oh. Anyway,
I love you, Josh. I'm sorry.
speaking of Josh,
He won't listen to this.
speaking of Josh, JoshTech.com is where you can get to our merch store. It's actually teespring.com/stores/PCPer.
Or the Teespring.
if you're boring,
Yeah.
it's that.
If you're a boring person, yes, you'll do that whole thing. But JoshTech.com redirects you to the merch store. When are you doing the sale? When he
Whenever
posts?
the first podcast where Josh posts his wheel review.
Oh,
so
okay.
bug Josh on Twitter to get
Okay.
his wheel review done and posted to the website.
So not this
and
one.
then I will give a discount on Josh Check merch.
Maybe next week.
Mhm.
Maybe. I don't know. It should be by now. I thought he was like almost done with it.
He's been almost done for a month or two now. So.
Yeah. Anyway, next up, might as well jump into the reviews. So Ken's
Been busy.
been very busy. He has reviewed yet another. Wait, no, this is the first one, right? First
Yes.
2070. Okay, RTX 2070 review. EVGA card was the first one that he picked. We have a few.
Yeah.
Around here.
Lots of 2070s piling up, as it turns out.
Yep. So, how was it?
So there's not anything really radically different about this launch. Still same Turing architecture, just kind of pared down. This is the T106 GPU, which you traditionally see on like the 60 SKUs, like the GTX 1060 was the first GPU 106 GPU. So again, kind of the theme with Turing is sort of kind of charging a little more for the same level of GPU as the previous generation. So we've seen kind of everything creep up a little bit in price,
Right.
which is less than ideal.
Isn't it a little bit less so with this one though, compared to?
Not really.
Not really. Okay. So I didn't know, like, if this one seemed a little bit even above, like, so if you're comparing a 2070.
So we'll get to it. But kind of the big thing about this launch in particular is that NVIDIA didn't really send out the Founders Edition GPUs to most people. They sent out to a couple of outlets. I've seen reviews on, like, I know AnandTech got one.
Right.
But instead what they did is they essentially had their partner sample cards, because their partner cards ready for this review like there were for the 2080 and 2080 Ti. However, remember that whole starting at price scheme for these Turing GPUs?
Yeah.
That was $200 cheaper on the 2080 and 2080 Ti, or the 2080 Ti, and $100 cheaper on the 2080 and 2070.
Wait, cheaper?
Yes, the starting at price.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It was
cheaper than the Founders Edition.
cheaper than reality.
Was cheaper than the Founders Edition.
Okay.
We actually have some cards hitting that base price now.
What is the base price for this one? For the
$499. The Founders Edition is $599. The 2070s start at $499.
Okay.
And one of the $499 SKUs is what we took a look at in this review is the EVGA 2070 RTX 2070 Black Edition, which is interesting.
That's what's right there, right?
Yes.
I like the look of
here
this
in front
card.
of me. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same look they've been going for with their other Turing GPUs, this sort of clearer shroud. We can interchange some of the accent parts on the dimpled fan with the EVGA logo, which is kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
But this card is essentially the same as the Founders Edition. It's the reference PCB, which is sort of a shorter PCB, as you see there.
Yeah, I had to like extend the.
Yeah, to fit their full cooler on it, they had to kind of extend, which we see in plenty of GPUs in the past. It's usually like the GTX 1060. We saw some cards do this. It's not exactly an abnormal thing. We've seen some RX 580s do that as well.
Now, compared to the heat output we expect from this thing, like that's a pretty stout cooler. Right?
Yeah, I mean it's
a decent amount of surface area.
It's fat bottomed.
There's a lot of thin area.
Also, it's
three heat pipes, I think.
It's properly 2 slots, not the 2.5 or
exactly.
almost 3 crap we keep seeing.
Yeah. And one of the other cool things about this card is you get a dual link DVI port as well. which is on the Founders reference layout. If you scroll down, you'll see
go.
it. So that's
the USB as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have the virtual link. You have 2 display ports and HDMI and a dual link DVI.
Sweet.
So you actually get DVI back this time, which
yeah,
I think for certain people will be an advantageous thing. You don't have to use, if you have a 25x14 monitor, one of those Korean monitors that only have DVI in it, you don't have to use an active adapter, which is definitely a bonus. I still have one of those monitors around.
Or if you're still clinging on like your Dell.
Yeah, your Dell
30-inch.
30-inch, which we still use plenty of them around here because they're still pretty great monitors.
Yeah.
There's still only 4 simultaneous outputs, though?
I'm not sure. I imagine it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the I will eventually remember the name of this thing. Oh, the display link. Does that count as the virtual link? Does that count as one of the 4 channels when there is a 4-channel limit?
I would assume so.
Okay.
So you can have 3 monitors and then plug in a VR headset occasionally.
Yeah. That's what I was figuring would be.
Oh, but the sort of other interesting thing about this card and why we picked it out of all the third-party cards we had for sort of our flagship review is that it's running at the 2070 reference speeds.
Okay.
Which not even the Founders Edition is, because this generation NVIDIA has overclocked the Founders Edition by a small margin. So this is actually running at reference 2070 speeds. So
and this is an EVGA Black Edition.
Yes.
Which usually has some kind of a...
The Black Edition is usually kind of the first entry level.
Okay. But I mean, I don't know. I mean,
the Black Edition it usually isn't a high-end card. Now, they also have the XC, I believe, for $550, but this is the base model. This is $500. This is the cheapest option you're going to get.
I mean, honestly, especially if you're getting an EVGA card, I would imagine those folks tend to be the ones that are running Precision X anyway, and they're probably at least doing the base overclock.
Well, I mean, overclocking is super easy with this generation because you can just kind of hit the one click in Precision X1 or Afterburner and just get the NVIDIA scanner result.
Yeah.
Which, as we'll see, is actually pretty decent on these cards.
Where do you want
to if you just go ahead and skip to some of the game testing.
Okay. Well, do you want to look at Far Cry?
That's not a result from this review. That is about the methodology.
Oh, that's the intro. Oh, whoops. Sorry. All right, pick something.
Just pick a page and we'll go with it.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Generally, performance isn't very exciting for this launch. It's about 30% faster than a 1070, which generation over generation, which is actually a pretty small margin if you look at other generation over generations for previous like 900 series to 10 series GPUs. It's usually a bigger margin than that.
It does look to be a decent margin over a 1080.
Yeah, so that's kind of the biggest comparison point here is against the 1080. It's about, on average, across all of the 10, I think we test 9-10 games at this point, it's about 10% faster than a 1080. It's better at higher resolutions because you have significantly faster memory. Right. Going from GDDR5X to GDDR6. So at 4K, where you're going to be a little more memory bound, you see bigger increases. Mm-hmm. Actually, one of the more interesting data points for this is how competitive Vega is. So Vega 64 falls right into this performance range as well. And it performs very similar to a 1080. So it's about 10, maybe more like 15% off of the 2080. Mm-hmm. But there are certain downsides from that, like the Vega 64 draws about 100 watts more power, is significantly louder, and most of the designs you'll see is a bigger card physically.
What are the Vega 64s going for right now?
About the same price, about the same 500-ish.
Okay.
So it's actually sort of an enlightening thing. It's a recent GPU launch where AMD is actually pretty competitive.
Yeah.
Which is always a positive thing to see.
I mean, all you'd have to, 100 more watts, like potentially a louder card.
I mean, it's going to be louder. It's going to be hotter, probably. It's going to be, or if it's not hotter, it's going to be a triple fan design. It's going to be larger and maybe more difficult to fit in a case. But if you don't want to go with NVIDIA for certain reasons, Vega 64 is actually still a pretty compelling option at this, what I'm calling above 1080p gaming. So 1440p high refresh, beginning of 4K. Mm-hmm. You could do 4K at, I'll say, medium settings in just about every title and hit at least 60 frames per second. And I think you'll be able to do that for the next couple of years.
It's pretty good.
So it kind of leaves us in a weird position. It's about 10% faster than 1080 for roughly the same price. You can get a third-party 1080 at this point. There are a couple of 1080s you can get for like 480, 490, 500. But they're mostly in that low $500 range at the moment on Newegg. So kind of left with a choice. Do you want to go with the 1080 and have sort of the older architecture, or do you want to go with the 2070? Personally, I think 2070 would be the better option because we could still see a lot of driver improvements because Turing is a new microarchitecture. There's still probably some performance to be had there. You do have the capability to do the RTX features with the RT cores and the Tensor cores whenever that maybe shows up in games. We have Windows 10 RS5 shipped now, so you can do the ray tracing. I mean, people can ship applications. We still haven't seen any.
That's probably a good third of the die that's not really doing much yet.
I mean, no one's ever really gotten a solid number out of that.
There's a chunk of
there's a chunk of silicon that's not really doing anything.
You know, that will enable some feature for some games down the line that you won't have on a 1080.
Yeah.
Right. So,
true. Although I think that one of the themes with this RTX launch though is don't buy. I mean, unless you got the money to blow, don't buy this for ray tracing.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
You can take advantage. Yeah, whenever it does come, you can turn it on and see and whatever. But you know, I didn't coin this. I read this on, I don't know if it was a thread or something, but or Twitter. But you know, somebody said this is the worst ray tracing card NVIDIA will ever release.
Yeah, absolutely,
because it's their first, and it's only going to get better from here. And so let that market mature before you spend money following that path. Yeah, especially at these higher price points.
And if you have like a 1080 now, definitely do not.
No, if you have a 1070,
if you're shopping for a 1080 right now,
but if you're shopping for a 1080 right now, this is your.
If you need something to go above 1080p but don't want to spend $600-700, this is a good option.
Yeah.
And if you scroll down a little bit, I think you're on the overclocking page. We actually got about 200 megahertz overclocked out of this. Imagine that. It hits the same Turing 2 gigahertz limit, essentially.
Yeah.
You increase the power target, you essentially increase the voltage as much as you can, and you get just about 2 gigahertz out of all of these cards.
Yeah, it seems pretty consistent.
Yeah. Now the cooler design is kind of what you have to look at. What?
It's 2 gig, but it's only running 60C.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a smaller, it's still a 2-fan cooler on on a smaller die.
But you've got a relatively small card. It's quiet. It hits really good temperatures at sort of the maximum overclock you can see from any of these cards. So, I mean, it's pretty compelling.
What the power look like? Was that overclocked here? Or?
No, that's stock state.
I'm trying to read the numbers on that chart.
It's about 180, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
It was more like 165 with this card, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
cool.
This is kind of the first Turing card I could recommend you buy. The 2080 Ti was a different story because it was it's the fastest graphics card you can buy. So I don't really think you should for $1,200, but if that's what you're looking for, it was an option. But the 2070 actually makes sense, and I'll insert a caveat here, at $500. Once you get to $550 for some of these factory overclocked models or $600 for the Founders Edition, it doesn't make any sense anymore. At that point, you should probably buy a 1080, be it on sale or for $500. There's not $100 worth of performance margin here. There just isn't.
Do you happen to remember what the background dB is?
It's about 31.8. It's actually in the next review.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's about 31.5 generally in this office.
And this is like 32.5.
Yeah.
It's like 1 dB over background.
Your CPU cooler is most likely going to be louder than this thing. So there's that. Sound isn't really an issue.
Yeah. That's pretty, just compared to the other cards even, right? Like,
yeah.
That's impressive.
The other cards were Founders Editions, so they were blowers for the 10 series, which are definitely significantly louder.
Yeah. Does this one have the LEDs in there? Or no?
The black? No, I don't think so.
I don't think it does.
Okay.
No. So this is obviously sort of a no-frills card to hit that $500 price point, but I still think it's a really good card, and I don't really care about any of the compromises. I don't care about LEDs or the temperature sensors on the card.
But I think the logo lights up maybe at the top.
I honestly can't remember.
I'm trying to remember. Anyway.
So, if you're looking for something to do 25 by 14 or lower end 4K, I do think this is a really good option, as is the next card we're going to take a look at, which is the second third-party RTX 2070 we looked at. It's a similar sort of story here. This is from MSI. See RTX 2070 Armor.
That cooler looks familiar.
I mean,
their design is very...
The MSI, the twin Frozer sort of design.
I think they're up to like 7 now.
I don't even know if they number them anymore.
How tall that thing is, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we'll get to that. There's a image a little lower that shows it off. So this is a factory overclock card. It's running at, I think, about 50 megahertz faster than reference out of the box.
Yeah, it's like a good
It's an inch and a half taller, which is actually kind of a deal to fit into some smaller form factor cases. If you're looking at like mid-tower cases, sometimes the clearance between the case window or the side panel and the end of the PCI bracket doesn't allow for an extra inch and a half, 2 inches. It does add a 6-pin power connector, which doesn't really get you a whole lot. You're still going to have essentially the same power target. I think it's a little higher on this MSI card because of the custom PCB design. But it does allow you to spread out the load, which if you have a multi-rail PSU design could be advantageous, right? If we'll look at the power results a little later, but it kind of caps at drawing 100 watts from the 8-pin, and then the rest of the slag is taken up by the 6-pin. So you're doing a little more load balancing, whatever.
I mean, is there going to be a realistic case where someone's going to look at purchasing one of these and not have the available auxiliary PCI pins on their power supply?
Maybe. I don't think so. I think if your power supply has one connector, it's probably going to be a dual 6+2.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I picked up like a 400 watt this week, and it also had 2 8-pins on it. It's like, is a single pin 8-pin PSU a thing anymore?
Probably not, but I mean,
there's a lot of shit a custom machine. It could well be.
Yeah.
I think
it makes sense. Fine. Just like the Threadripper motherboards, where you've got the extra 12-volt plugs that you don't need, but if you're going to push it, it's a good idea to have.
Yeah,
but in this case, you have to have them plugged in, though, is the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't test not having the 6-pin plugged in. I don't think it will work.
Yeah, usually they don't.
Yeah, usually it doesn't work that way.
I get that it gets pissy because there's no ground on it.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes
if they have current sensing shunts on there, so it's going to kind of freak out if it doesn't detect anything.
Well, not just that, but sometimes they're not all going into the same plane.
Yeah.
Can you
in
stick
the card,
a paper clip into it and test it?
Oh, sure.
Brilliant advice. From the performance side, it's about a 1 to 3% increase over that EVGA card we just talked about.
And that's because it has a base overclock, right?
Yeah, it has a slightly higher clock. If you scroll down, you can take a look at the stock clock speed. So it's about 50 megahertz faster than the EVGA card was in stock configuration.
Stock config, it's like right at 1800.
Yeah.
From the looks of
Whereas the EVGA card was in the mid to low 1700. So, a decent amount of gain there.
Yeah, it's like 3%.
Yeah.
Or so.
Yeah, weird. This is the power breakdown I was talking about. You can see the green is the 8-pin connector, and I think the red is the blue is the 6-pin. So it's essentially...
So that's running like right at 180.
Yeah, so it's about 10, 15 watts higher, which again makes sense with clock speed scaling.
Yeah.
Not a whole big deal.
What's the max that those will go power draw wise? When you do overclock them, like when you crank everything up, is it?
Oh, I pulled that power, but I haven't actually looked at the
probably
number.
Like around 200 or something.
Yeah, it's not going to be a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So, it's 114% power target was increased, so 14%
okay,
more.
So whatever 14%.
So,
it's probably around 200.
Yeah. It overclocked to about the same level. If you scroll back up to that chart, you can see. But
2 gigahertz.
It actually hit an even 2 gigahertz, which again is about 50 megahertz faster than the EVGA card in an overclock state. So that's really what we're looking at.
That's interesting though, because usually the tend to just top out at the same.
I don't think the reference PCB has a power target of the same level.
Oh, okay.
I think it's slightly higher on the custom PCBs.
Gotcha.
To explain it. It is running a little hotter at 65, which is still absolutely nothing to worry about.
Right.
All is said and done in an overclock state, this actually ends up, at least in 3D Mark, which is kind of the one performance benchmark I ran to verify numbers, it's about 25% faster than a 1080.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a stock Founders 1080, not a retail overclock 1080, which is what you'd find in the market now.
Right.
But you start to open up the gap a little more if you overclock these cards, and they've got the headroom, they got 200 megahertz headroom, they run fine, they run cool. There's no reason not to. Just go into your overclocking software and hit the one button, drag the power target up,
and that's all you did for either of these, right?
Yeah, that's actually kind of all I've been doing for overclocking testing, because hit that 2 gigahertz limit. So it's kind of pointless to.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to squeeze some more out of it, but you know, and the way that overclocking, the built-in overclocking works though, is it's doing other, like, it backs off where it sees.
Yeah, it's actually tuning the entire curve, so it's not just a flat offset, voltage offset. So it's actually at every point in the voltage frequency curve, it's kind of tuning it.
Right. So, but not just that, it actually it's doing like a computational workload, and it backs off even before, like if you were manually doing an overclock and only pushing it until either you got a crash or like saw artifacts or something like that. Like this is actually not going to, it'll even give you a little more margin over that because it's trying to, it'll back off before it gets computational errors, which you might not translate to something you saw even. So, which is cool.
Yeah.
A lot of the reviews that I sort of saw, peg it, if you can get a 1080 overclock to about the same extent as a 2070, they're close enough to be equal. Plus 2 or 3%, except in a couple of cases where all of a sudden the 2070 does jump ahead. In a couple of the games in 4K, it just likes better. But the argument that I sort of think, and you just brought up, is but the 2070 makes that hitting that overclock so much easier. Yeah. You're not fiddling, you're just going boop and waiting 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, is it 10 minutes? How long is it?
10, 15 minutes, I'd say.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I thought it was faster than that. Or
now,
something.
I will say the tools, like the EVGA Precision X1 and Afterburner, aren't great yet. I ran into a couple of stability issues with the NV scanner on this product. I think they might need to be updated.
Yeah.
So, your mileage may vary a little bit there, but I mean, I did get it to work, so it wasn't that difficult.
Those tools, both of them have a history of, like, if it's a new feature.
They're quickly updated.
Well,
it's not a problem.
Yeah. But they also have a history of being flaky when there is a new feature that was added to them.
Yeah.
All right, so gold award for that one?
Yeah. Between this and the EVGA card, I mean, this card, actually, if you cut to the wide shot, Alex, you can see them next to each other. The MSI card here is substantially bigger. It's a little longer, has that tall PCB. It's about 1.5 inches taller. Be a little more difficult to fit in smaller form factor cases, but does provide a little bit extra performance benefit for the same $500 price. So it's kind of a preference there on sort of what form factor you want. Like that, the EVGA one's a little slimmer. The MSI one has an RGB LED on the MSI logo. So, there's that. Yeah. But it's nice to see 2 well thought out $500 options.
Yeah.
It's worth noting the MSI card does come in an overclocked version, factory overclocked version for $50 more.
I mean,
but as far as I know, the hardware's the same. Yeah. So don't buy that.
Yeah, you're probably just going to
buy this one and overclock it.
Right. Because you'll end up probably hitting the same numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same custom PCB and everything. So yeah.
Okay.
That's the RTX 2070 thus far. It's not exciting, but if you're looking at about 1080 perf, just buy one of these instead. Unless you see a really good sale on the 1080, then buy that. Right? It's buy whatever fits your wallet better.
Makes sense. All right. Up next, we can talk about some of the thing that Josh was at. I guess there's an ARM processor in that dog. Maybe. Yeah, there's got to be a reason that dog was on the stage where he was at, and they're talking about ARM stuff. So I would imagine maybe there's
got to be at least an ARM processor, probably about 15.
Yeah,
all the sensors that are on that Boston Dynamics.
Yeah. Probably every sensor is connected to an ARM processor. So ARM unveils Neoverse infrastructure, which admittedly I have not read about before we started recording the show. Has anybody? Bail me out, guys.
I mean,
anybody
cannot look through it, and it seems like it's a multi-segment launch.
Yeah,
it seems.
It's a multi-year as well.
Okay, so it's like a new branding, right? Neoverse, obviously, there.
Mm-hmm. It's their answer to the idea of IoT and cloud compute and bringing compute power to the edge
everywhere.
It's sort of a roadmap for. That includes solutions going from network switches all the way up to servers, essentially.
This thing kills me with the bring compute power to the edge. You mean like how it used to be before we had the internet? Just saying.
We didn't have any compute power then.
I mean, relative, yeah.
Well, edge computing and local client computing I do too. I really do. It's sort of.
They needed a word other than cloud, right? Like, so I guess edge.
Well, now you have parts of the cloud, and yeah, whatever. But hey, the market desires, and the market will provide. So, ARM saw market, so they're providing, and this is really cool. I think. They have multi-generations. They have scaling from, embedded single core, single channel, no cache devices, all the way up to, 128 core with 8 controllers.
Mm-hmm.
To take a single, well, AMD just did it, but, to take a single platform and scale it that wide and that tall is really impressive.
Yeah. And they, because you used to always think of, whenever you think ARM, it'd be like some, really low power, small thing in some IoT device or something, right? Like, generally speaking. Like some small ARM CPU, but they're...
Yeah, except they were bringing Cisco up on a bunch of other people. So, there's obvious partnerships going on where they're going to show up in stuff you're not expecting.
Right.
And, I don't even remember what it is, but they sell more processors than everyone else combined by several orders of magnitude. It's just that they've always been very low power until recently.
Can't help but notice this I/O block here with 100 gig plus Ethernet.
That caught my eye because they were talking about doing embedded switch hardware, which I assumed was talking about supervisors.
Maybe.
But then they're talking 100 gig in Ethernet on the platform, which...
Yeah, that's Ethernet, not just the backplane, not just the fabric of a switch.
Yeah, are they trying to push into the embedded controller area as well?
I don't know.
I suspect so.
Yeah.
And the newer generations of Cisco's are so compartmentalized now.
Mm-hmm.
It's craziness. So I could totally see them taking advantage of that for some of the virtual networking is just mad. Like you just set up and turn on entire blocks of your network with a single command as opposed to building them up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or turning them on and off. And I could totally see ARM sitting there as the processor that's handling all of that and then leaving heavy lifting for other people for a while, but not forever, because you look at some of the Zeus by 2021 is probably going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other really nice thing, because every time I hear Internet of Things, I cringe on the inside.
Security.
ARM has been secure from the beginning, and they're not going to give it up. TrustZone and Crypto Island are the two that they've been pushing for a while now, and each individual key is separate. There's no master key like you will find on every other bloody platform, and they take it deeply seriously. So there is some hope if ARM does manage to take over the bigger ones, that we're not going to see some of the ridiculousness we are now.
Hopefully.
Because otherwise, you're not going to be allowed back in your house ever again.
All right. Let's see. What do we have coming up next? News. We got any ads this week?
Nope.
Guessing not. Sweet. All right. News item. Radeon, Adrenalin, Call of Duty. What?
Cod liver oil.
Oh, sorry. Jeremy.
Alan doesn't appreciate your witty repartee.
I
thought it was punny.
It is punny.
Cod blumps. I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How stupid.
Okay, so what they add with this? Fixes for Fortnite, Sea of Thieves, tweaks to Vulkan.
And if you're on an RX 664 or 580, you're going to get a noticeable boost in your COD blopsing.
Wait, is this the one that's going to make everything better for Vega?
Define better.
Well,
sure, why not?
Yeah, it's the one where the Vega 56 is going to just slaughter a 1080 Ti.
Yeah.
Strangely, the 56 doesn't get mentioned in this update at all.
No. They're saving that for the next version.
Okay. Raja had that code and he took it with him.
Yeah.
wait for Navi.
Okay. What do we got next? Next up, Noctua. Threadripper cooler. Wait a minute. I thought they already had Threadripper coolers.
Well, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think somebody recently might have personal experience with these.
Yeah, it's true. I like this U14S. It's ridiculously quiet and huge.
But that's not what this one is, right?
No, that's the NHU9.
Oh.
That's the small one.
It's so tiny.
Oh, yeah. It does have the smaller fans. Okay.
I don't remember.
So tiny, Kyle could only fit 2 DIMMs in his motherboard. But the reason that it's interesting, because, these guys have been out for a bit, but Threadripper 2 hasn't.
Right.
So because of the way that Threadripper works, it's aiming for a temperature, and it will do whatever it can with Precision Boost to stay running at that temperature, be it backing down power, backing down frequencies. So, surprisingly enough, all of the coolers maintained about 68 degrees because that's what Threadripper wants.
Almost nice.
But did the performance change with this one? Like,
so that was what was interesting is, well, how the hell do we benchmark them now?
Right.
And so what Kyle was looking at was sustained clocks and power draw.
Mm-hmm.
So as opposed to looking at the temperature, which is what we've always been looking at, and the cooler that makes it the coolest and the quietest is the winner. In this case, it's the one that can maintain clocks on Precision Boost 2. So the charts look very different, and it's going to be a little bit interesting benchmarking different coolers on these because you're actually not going to be looking at temperature at all.
Also interesting that I wonder what that does to your fan curve, because usually your fan curve is based on temperature. But if the platform just hits a temperature, so I guess on
you just set it to max out 5 degrees under the target,
or the Threadripper platform is doing something more intelligent with it
would depend on the motherboard.
Right. I just wonder if
a lot of the motherboards are going to have a header that's smart enough to do that. And I mean, that was part of his testing was, okay, what happens if I set the fan to 100?
Right.
And refuse to let it go down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know which
a little
boards...
bit, but not much.
Oh, okay.
I did look it up, and this is the U9 is actually the one that we used in our Threadripper Plex server, which has been going for a year and a half now.
Yeah,
we hit that CPU hard too.
Oh yeah,
with multiple transcodes, lots and lots of transcodes all the time.
That thing definitely works.
No problems.
All of our public domain content being transcoded across
lots of copies of Big Buck Bunny.
Yeah.
Well, there's something definitely to be said about the simplicity of an air cooler.
Yes.
Yeah.
They just keep running, and when they stop running, you know it because they start screaming.
The worst thing you have to do is replace a fan or two.
Yeah.
But in the case of Noctua fans, you're probably
you're probably not going to have
to replace those for a very, very long time.
It's still the only moving part that can go bad, as opposed to a pump that you can't fix or coolant that evaporates.
I still have nightmares of when my EK, that all-in-one they were selling for a while that you could then expand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I didn't expand it. I left it as an all-in-one, and then I came downstairs one day to see it dripping all over the top of my Titan.
Oh no!
Oh dear!
Womp womp.
Something similar happened to me, and that's what led to me unwater cooling my machine. Just
and honestly, unless you know what the hell you're doing and are building a custom one, the temperature difference is not that big.
It's air cool. This is our new thing. We talked about this last week. Air coolers are generally quieter at this point.
Yeah,
if you're not doing custom
and
loop.
Within a couple of degrees of performance and half the price.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, usually the pump makes noise. And then if you're doing your own water cooling, usually there's some sort of flow noise you get too, compared to these cards that are just especially the CPU cores this.
A custom loop is probably going to be better than a lot of air coolers.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
a lot. Yeah, I mean, it'll get you to far lower temperatures, but the point is is it good enough?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you ask Maury, absolutely. But I think he's the only one of us doing custom water coolers at this point.
Right. Yeah. Okay. What is this, Jeremy?
Oh man,
it's a cell phone for your cell phone.
Cell phone for your cell phone?
It's adorable.
Is adorable.
That's a
tiny it's a palm
phone.
It's actually a palm.
Yeah.
It's a palm.
Well, it's got the name Palm.
Yeah, it's got the name.
And it's made by Palm, so sorry guys.
Did those guys buy?
It's made by the current.
It's made by the owners of the trademark.
Yeah, the current
TCL.
holders of the Palm. No, TCL sold it to these guys. This is a startup.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, I got that backwards.
I mean, it's cute looking.
So this is like.
I wonder how big that dude's hand actually is.
This is like a 3-inch phone, 3.5-inch phone, or something like that.
Holy crap!
3.8
It's
by 2.
essentially a smartwatch on steroids.
Yeah.
It's meant as a. It's only being sold through Verizon. It's an extra $10 on your data plan, and it shares your main phone's phone number.
Really?
The idea being that a lot of people have $1,000 phones now that you don't want to necessarily take in a lot of situations. You don't want to take it, like if you're going hiking, you probably don't want to take your $1,000.
It's about this big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that
No, I thought your $1,000 phone you were supposed to drop on the ground at least once every day.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like there are multiple ideas of like, I don't know, you could unplug and take this simpler phone, which you won't really want to use, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's a full Android phone that has all these damn apps and could have all these notifications on it. I think they do have a mode that like silences notifications or something like that, that they do have some like distraction free mode. But let's say you went out drinking a lot and were very clumsy and had a 6.5-inch $1,200 phone that you didn't want to drop. Maybe you get one of these. It's like $350 for the device and then $10 a month, which is too much. If you're an iPhone user, you won't get your iMessages on this device. You'd only get SMS.
Yeah.
it's another $10 on top of the other phone.
Yeah.
Right.
From Verizon.
It's an add-on. It's like a smartwatch.
Yeah,
let's
it's like
be
what you
honest.
pay
It's
for
like
a
a connected smartwatch.
So it has its own SIM and its own data plan.
It's
It
probably
shares your data plan and your phone number from your main phone.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's probably like a smartwatch style eSIM thing.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
You know.
It's an interesting concept. I
It's
don't
dead in the water.
need or want one. Well, I don't.
Jeez, Jim.
I mean, let's be honest.
Somebody
here.
might buy
It's
it.
kind of what?
It's dead in the water.
Oh
Let's be
yeah, no
honest
one's going to
about
buy
it.
this.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept, but no one's going to buy it.
Sure.
I mean, for all the things you made arguments that this would make sense to, a $30 feature phone also applies.
But it doesn't have your phone number unless you swap SIMs. And
Well,
as we go
yeah.
towards eSIMs and everything.
But-
That's the main advantage of this is it shares your phone number. That's the only thing it has, really.
And at a much lower price, it would have a chance of attracting an audience.
Yeah.
But at that price,
Yeah.
plus the full $10 additional fee on your wireless bill, man, I don't know.
But it says Palm on it.
I mean, that's the price of a
but how
smartwatch.
How many kids nowadays using their iPhones even remember Palm?
Well, no one.
Yeah.
No one.
But they're not the
remembers
ones
Palm.
with money.
That's the issue with Palm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone's
It's-
going to buy it and hack it to get it to run WebOS or WebOS
Still
just
best
because.
Yeah.
Right
It's
in
an
the feels.
interesting thing that came out of nowhere. Yeah. I mean, if Apple did this, I bet it'd be successful. But
Oh,
I don't
God.
think some third party can do this. I think Apple could pitch it to Apple people, but I don't think
All right.
it has a shot.
Next. Do not track. Jeremy.
That's right. Do not track me.
Yes, but tell us more about do not track.
Oh, it's coming to absolutely no shock to anyone who actually knows what the hell is going on the web. It's a little feature that was included, literally a DNT equals 1 or 0 in your metadata. And in theory, a website was supposed to honor this and say, oh, this guy doesn't want to be tracked, so we're not going to track him and send him targeted advertising. Strangely enough, advertising-based websites seem to have completely ignored it. This, of course, is completely and desperately shocking to every single person on the planet.
Mhm.
And for the most part, I mean, it wasn't even enabled. I mean, it was something you could turn on if you really felt like it on one of your various browsers. Mozilla's gotten sort of pissy and is going to do a more aggressive style one, which is maybe not the best solution, but sort of understandable as to why you would do it. And I mean, but it was existed on Safari, it existed on IE, and Google, who was sort of pushing it for a little bit in Chrome, obviously doesn't honor it in any way, shape, or form, but was kind of pushing it as something that they were including to help you out.
Wait. one part of Google didn't talk to the other part of Google.
It's weird, eh?
Well, I think all the browsers that did offer it as a end user option, none of them did a very good job explaining what was happening. Like in Safari, it's just enable do not track, yes or no.
Well, because they didn't.
Well, I don't want to be tracked.
Because they didn't know. Like the browsers didn't even know what you get because it's implemented on the other end.
No, I understand, but they weren't even explaining to the user that this is something we're going to set in your profile that needs to be honored on the other side. That was never really explicitly made clear to the average user, of course. I mean,
right?
Not shocking, not surprising, but
disappointing.
It's interesting because we were talking about this before the podcast. There's this. When you're on the web and you're requesting resources from someone's server, there's, you're requesting it and there's no strings attached. There's content negotiation, language, all that other stuff. That's fine. But there's nothing in the technical protocol that says, you have to rely or at least adhere to the user's request about how you handle that request data.
Or even accept it.
Yeah, there's no response code for do not track fail. There's 418, I'm a teapot, and what was the other one we found?
450?
Yeah, it might have been, was it 429 maybe? Illegal.
418 is I'm a little teapot?
Yeah, 418 is I'm a little teapot.
Back when the internet used to be funny.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's part of a sub-protocol over HTTP, but that's neither here nor there. But there's also one banned due to legality, which is like it's a 459.
I don't know.
Oh, sure.
What are the what temperature does this book? 451.
Yeah. Fahrenheit 451.
That's it. So, but if you send a DNT on the request and on the other side they ignore it, there's no repercussion. And there's been some legal arguments to make this part of the protocol, but how often does legislating protocols actually work?
Never.
And I can just see, the user access guy on the other end going, well, no, that's going to slow things down if we have to actually read that metadata and have some sort of response. It's not going to streamline the experience of the user. You've got to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next up, I think, lastly, Discord. What's Discord doing?
Game Store.
Gaming.
Well, Game Store and a game subscription service.
Interesting.
There's actually some really cool titles on this.
I
Discord
clicked through
Nitro.
expecting sheer and utter crap and was quite impressed. Click on Discord so that you can get to Discord's. Nitro.
Mm-hmm. And
This is the streaming.
Okay.
is it streaming or is it just a subscription service?
Well, sorry, it's a subscription service, but they refer to
Thank
streaming
God.
because, you have to.
So it's like an Xbox Game Pass. You download the games.
As just the simulator escalation, someone could finally try to play that game, so just benchmark it, I guess. I hear it's a game.
Interesting.
Shadow Tactics is
Calciv 3,
Psychonauts is in there?
Trine 3.
Psychonauts is a good game.
So Metro Last Light Redux, Trine 2, Torchlight 2. Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff here.
Limbo,
Inside
Super
is
Meat Boy?
Inside is a cool game.
Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, System Shock 2. Man, $10 a month.
Keep going, almost there.
Where am I going?
Ooh.
Oh, the original System Shock.
Oh, it's almost good.
Enhanced.
Psychonauts. Yeah. Oddworld.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, they're not showing it for you. It's got Brutal Legend.
Oh, wow. Really? Never played Brutal Legend.
Now you can.
Yeah.
$10 for a month. You don't have to sign up for the year.
140. Don't need to play that.
Oh, it does look right up my alley. What was that? I pay N plus.
Oh, and
It was
plus
very similar to that. Yeah.
And Tiny Heroes. Tiny Heroes is a really good one.
There they are.
Yeah, there's Brutal Legend.
Doesn't look dated at all.
Kind of reminds me of, what was that LucasArts game with a biker dude?
Full Throttle.
Full Throttle.
Yeah, that one actually had a bit of a story,
Well,
though.
it is a Tim Schafer game.
Full Throttle had a hilarious story.
Yes, it did.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess we'll move into the picks, even though that was kind of a pick. Let me open the picks.
It's funny, there was a lot going on this last week, mostly centered around the RTX 2070.
Yep.
So there's a lot of work that was done, just not a lot of unique topics. That's why we were putting the show together.
Yeah. There's some there's some other stuff like the Huawei phone stuff, but which is kind of interesting, like the P20, I think. I don't know, I can never keep up with the Mate 20 Pro, I think. I can never keep up with their phone names.
All right. Picks. Alex, you got a pick or no?
I do not.
Okay.
Womp womp. Womp womp.
So my pick, these things are cheap. Just have flashlights in your house. If you don't like have flashlights, you know.
Got a flashlight in my pocket.
I mean, you never know when the power is going to go out. See, there you go. Ken's thinking. He's got a flashlight in his pocket. These are pretty cheap. He's SOSing
Whoa.
out of the podcast over there. These are cheap, like $9. You get 2 of them. They just take a AA battery.
Yeah.
They're decent.
I definitely have a couple of those exact
It's a very
flashlight
common
with different names on them around.
Yeah. How much is the 4-pack? It's like exactly twice as much as a 2-pack. Actually,
It's a little cheaper.
Yeah, it's a little cheaper. Anyway, you know, get a couple of flashlights, put some batteries in them, leave them in a couple of strategic places in your house for
Leave one in your car.
Oh, have one in your car. You never know when you're going to need that on the side of the road, and when I guarantee you, the flashlight on your phone is not going to be sufficient when you're trying to like troubleshoot something under the hood of your car. Most likely,
Yeah.
And need more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I've broken my phone, which is my only lifeline here on the side of the road.
There you go.
I got that pom-pom in the glove box, but I didn't activate the damn subscription.
Yeah, just, you know, something handy to have around for safety's sake, or just for needing to see stuff in tight spaces. In the dark. Anyway, next up.
So
Let's get into that season.
Oh,
Is this you or is this Jeremy?
it's me. Apparently,
is it
it's
you?
not for sale anymore.
Not for sale anymore.
That's disappointing.
Oh.
A couple of months ago, I bought this.
Well, it's just available from the seller, so that might be.
Yeah, click on that real quick.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Fancy looking arm.
No, that's too expensive.
Oh.
I'm sure it'll come back in stock at some point.
Okay.
It was a pretty regular thing when I bought it. This was a $19 articulating monitor arm. It's on my desk currently for a quaternary monitor off to the side.
Yeah. Ken has all the monitors.
Yeah. But I mean,
It's not bad.
it does everything I want it to. You can't fit like a 30-inch cold cathode display on there. It's
Those USB ports?
Looks
like it.
I guess it might have a USB hub. I've never noticed if mine does or not.
I guess that's for if your monitor had the USB.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, mine didn't come with any USB cables or anything, so I don't know. What I mean, let's be honest. It's not the most well-built thing in the world, but once you kind of clamp it onto your desk, it comes with a couple of different desk mounts, like a screw-in one and a clamp one. So you attach your desk and you get your monitor on there with the VESA mount, and you kind of get it cinched in and tightened up.
You're not gonna do anything
So
else
it's
with
an
it.
arm you can mount on the edge.
Exactly, the edge.
Cool.
It's the next thing. Yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of sag out of it with the current 27-inch monitor I have, but
I think that's just because you need to adjust the.
yeah, and that monitor, it also has a stainless steel frame.
Oh.
We'll talk about that in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But
that is a cool monitor.
Yeah, these things are cheap now. There were a couple of different options. I look on Amazon, so just kind of guess the general pick is if you've kind of been thinking about a monitor arm, just go look. Like $20, you can get a pretty good monitor arm.
I know Amazon, at least at one point, was selling one of their own, like Amazon Basics branded ones, but it was still probably 3 times that price.
Yeah, there's a monoprice one that I think's a bit more expensive, but it like wasn't in stock at the time when I was ordering it, so I just ordered this one. You know, again, it's not a very complex thing, so it either works or it doesn't.
Well, you just got to watch that weight limit to make sure it's got enough tension to keep it.
Definitely don't overload it.
All right. Next up, Jim, I think.
What about Jeremy?
Was this Jeremy's pick?
I don't know. What is it?
What's the pick?
What's the pick? Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah, it's yours,
skipped Jeremy.
I skipped. I couldn't see your screen.
Why did I?
So,
sorry, Jeremy. You want me to do
You just don't like Star Wars.
Just do
obviously.
Jim's pick.
Okay. Jim's pick. Here you go.
Well, fine. We're just going to do that then.
Well, we already showed it.
there it is. Now I can see it. Okay. So I bought my first wireless charger because it's
Reasons?
time. And I was looking, like any good Apple customer, I was waiting so eagerly for AirPower.
Yeah, right. Like that's never going to happen.
Apparently, I wonder how many engineers got fired when that kind of
Blew up.
But I was looking for something just simple. It doesn't need to be ultra fast, but this is 7.5 watts, so it's not the full 10, I guess. But it's $30. It's Anker, which is it's a good brand that we like. I got it in 2 weeks ago, and it's been working great. It works with the iPhone XS, XS 10s, and it's a basic, nice. It's sturdy on the desk. The phone sits well in the little cradle it's got, and keeps it charged throughout the day when I'm here at the office, and then I don't have to worry about it at night. So it's a good, cheap, reliable option for medium power wireless charging, I guess you'd call that.
Yeah.
So you need to bring your own wall wart adapter, it looks like.
Yeah, it's
adapter in the
annoying.
box. It's much more useful to be in the stand form factor than the pads I have. Where it's like,
and much more useful than just a plain old stand.
Yeah.
All right.
That's foreign object detection. So,
Then we've got Jeremy.
I don't know if I want to talk about it anymore.
What am I doing over here? It's a list of things?
Well, I couldn't get the Star Wars filter going, so I just went to the page.
Oh, okay.
But all of their fun little Star Wars BB9s and the speeder bike, X-Wing, and TIE Fighter Advance, so the battling ones that have like the little sensor and laser on them so that you can actually fly around and shoot each other. They're all $60.
Sale ends 18th, so that's tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just a quick little sale that they're having. But if you got a kid on your shopping list that likes it,
that's Star Wars.
Or if you're a kid still that kind of likes this sort of thing, and you're in Canada, boom, grab pop by Best Buy, order it online, do whatever you feel like.
That Star Wars R2 droid is usually much more expensive than that.
That's even Canadian rupees.
Yeah.
A Teddy Ruxpin cost $100.
100 Canadian dollars.
But still,
it's like $5.
It's an animatronic reading bear, Jim.
Was it still powered by a cassette tape in his back?
I hope so.
That has a terrifying mechanism that scars young children.
I think that's what you got to pay extra for.
Oh.
All right. Man, those things used to be way more expensive than that.
Oh, yeah.
Even with the sale. Huh.
Oh, yeah. Last year they were $199.
That's true.
No Star Wars movie this December. Got to sell that merch on discount. Deep discount.
Yeah, that's true.
Just keep Ryan Johnson away from my franchise.
Good luck with that, Jim.
Mm-hmm. All right. I guess that's it. PCPer.com/podcast. That's where you can find the show notes, all the things we talked about, all the picks, all the other things. And Twitter.com/PCPer or Twitter.com/Malventano if it's early Thursday and you want to shoot me a storage-related question for the mailbag. Anyway, with that, I would say good night and see you next week.